Yeah, we navigated through 1998. We navigated through the dot-com crash. We navigated through 2008. We navigated through 2020 and COVID. There's actually a substantial market decline in 2018. Between October 1, 2018 and Christmas Eve, what I term the Christmas Eve massacre, stock markets dropped 20% in under 3 months when the Fed kept elevating interest rates even though the economy was progressing. So they have experienced those. But each time it rebounded, even during COVID, March and April 2020, the stock market plummeted by 30%. It did, almost in a straight downward trajectory. But by September, we were back to new record highs. And so it's not that they've never witnessed that level of volatility, but they learned the incorrect lesson, which is it always bounces back, and we know why. Because the Fed rescues the situation. The Fed injects money into the system. The Fed boosts confidence, and so forth. But the antithesis occurred in 1929 when the stock market indeed collapsed, plunging by 23% over 2 days. It was approximately 12% one day and 11% the next in late October 1929, yet it continued plummeting. The stock market crashed in October 1929, but it hit rock bottom in June 1932. That was a 3-year progressive crash, or rolling crash, whichever term you prefer, with intermittent rallies. And the overall damage was over 80%, not 30%, not 40%, but a staggering 80% decline. And what many people don't realize is, it then rebounded in 1933 and 1934. The Fed erred again and made another mistake, as they typically do, in 1937, causing a second slump. But if you inquire, everyone knows the stock market crashed in 1929. When did it recuperate those levels? How much time did that take? The response is 25 years. It wasn't until 1954 that the market recovered from 1929. It doesn't signify that there weren't profits along the way, or that you couldn't earn money. You could. But if you think, I'll simply wait until it bounces back, well, a lot of people didn't survive long enough. They never witnessed their funds returning because they didn't live 25 additional years. So that's a genuine bear market. It has happened in the past. The takeaway is that you should be ready for eventualities like that, and there's virtually nobody alive, but extremely few individuals have encountered anything similar to that. And if you say, well, what if we encountered another market crash at this very moment? We'll discuss the reasons why in a moment. Why couldn't the Fed just come back and print more money and replicate the same action again? Bailing out the new failures, whomever they may be. You can just continue bailing things out. Why not repeat it? What's the major issue? Well, the answer is every rescue operation is larger than its predecessor, and that's the crux of the matter. You can go all the way back. 1994, Mexico. 1998, Russia, LTCM 2000-2008. Lehman 2020 pandemic, and they do rescue, but each one is more extensive than the last. We amassed $6 or $7 trillion of new debt atop a $1 trillion year baseline, $7 trillion in new debt to essentially dig ourselves out of the hole in 2020. Hence, there is a limitation. There comes a juncture where it's like, hey, this invoice is going to reach 20 trillion. Apologies. That check is excessively large. We'll have to allow some things to fail. The foremost item on my agenda is that we're steering towards a very severe recession. I just wish to briefly elucidate the dynamics of that. So the Fed is increasing interest rates. We're aware they commenced not that long ago, but as of March 1st, 2022, the Fed policy rate was 0. It stood at 0%. People recall Paul Volcker. Paul Volcker raised interest rates to 20%. Indeed, he did, but Powell hasn't raised them to that extent yet. Nevertheless, he's raised them rapidly. Even when Volcker was progressing toward 20%, it consumed 3 years from 1979 to 1982. So Powell's strategy is apparent because he's communicated it to us. He stated that curbing inflation is the top priority. It's not that we disregard other factors, but unemployment is destined to increase. We're heading for a recession. He refrains from using the R word, by the way, but it's implicitly implied in everything he conveys. We're heading for a recession. Unemployment is climbing. And regrettably, it's somewhat unfortunate because we need to bring inflation under control. Consequently, the Fed is in pursuit of something referred to as the terminal rate. What does that imply? The terminal rate is a rate sufficiently high to reduce inflation autonomously without further hikes. It needn't surpass inflation. It should be high enough to prompt inflation to descend to the Fed's target of 2% without any further increments. And when they attain that terminal rate, they'll cease. They refer to it as the pause. The hiatus could last a year. Powell reiterated this. It's right from his prepared remarks. So Powell is in search of the terminal rate. By the way, if you were to ask me, hey Jim, what's the terminal rate? I would respond truthfully. I'd say, I don't know. But now there's Jay Powell. Jay Powell isn't aware of what the terminal rate is. He's indicating that we'll identify it when we witness it, but we're not there yet, and we'll persist. And then there's the dots. It's an odd name, but the members of the Board of Governors and the Federal Reserve Bank presidents offer their estimations, their predictions of unemployment, inflation, growth, and interest rates for the subsequent 3 years, and they display them as dots on the graph. So they refer to it as the then. Wall Street acquires the dots. They perform a central tendency and regressions and such. One of the top Fed insiders, almost in Jay Powell's inner circle, stretching back to Bernanke Yellen, personally informed me. He stated that within the Fed, they regard the dots as ludicrous. They're no more accurate than guesses. The predictive capacity is dismal. You or I would have more accurate predictions, and they desire to extricate themselves from it.